Well, it's really a pleasure to be here tonight and speak with you all and just kind of share. Vanessa said she wanted me to share on purpose, and I know that's kind of a big subject. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you Skip's version of purpose. And I know that you can kind of come up with different versions of purpose. There's not one correct definition, but I'll give you mine. And if you want to adopt mine and use it for your own, you may. If you want to use another one, that's perfectly cool too. So purpose is one of those things where it's almost like an inborn human need that everybody feels like. They're born wanting to know what the purpose is. We're as a human being, we're always asking ourselves, at least subconsciously, if not consciously, what is my purpose and why am I here and what am I supposed to be doing? And that answer is it doesn't come easy for most of us actually. It didn't come easy for me. And if you're there and you still really couldn't put your purpose into a definition, don't feel bad, because it's really been the latter part of my life recently that I've been able to kind of really hone down and say, okay, this is what my purpose is. But before that, it might have been this, it might have been that, or couldn't really define it. Some people, like it comes easy for them. My daughter-in-law, one of my daughters-in-law, is like that. She, from a very young age, knew that she wanted to be a medical doctor, and now she's in her last year of pre-med. She just knew, and she just followed it, and that was her purpose, and that's what she was doing. But that's not the majority of us. The majority of us are like, well, maybe what is my purpose? So what I've kind of landed on for myself and what my purpose is, it's not necessarily what I do. It's not my vocation. It's not my accomplishments. It's not my activities, so to speak. All those are good, and all those are a conduit or a tool that I use to fulfill my purpose. But what I've really landed on as what my purpose is my purpose is to nourish and enhance the lives of the people around me. That's my purpose. And I can do that in a number of different ways. And if I were to lose everything that I've accomplished or that I've built up or whatever, my purpose wouldn't change. If I lost my business, if I lost my family, if I lost, fill in the blank, it doesn't matter, because my purpose is still to nourish and enrich the lives of the people around me. I kind of think of it in this way. There's a scripture that talks about bearing fruit, and in my backyard there's 2 pear trees, and those pear trees really have one purpose. They don't really provide very good shade. They're not real aesthetically pleasing to look at, but they do provide an abundance of some really good, crisp, sweet pears every year. And those pears nourish us and they enrich our lives, because my wife makes a wonderful pear cobbler, best kind of pear cobbler you ever sank your teeth into. And those trees actually produce so many pears that we get a lot of enjoyment and a lot of just joy out of inviting the neighbors to come in and gather up pears and pick pears, and then it just gives us a sense of fulfillment. So those pear trees nourish us. They provide us with, they enhance our lives. So I think of myself kind of, okay, well, what I want to do is I want to produce fruit in my life that nourishes people and enhances their lives. And really, you think about that and think, okay, well, what can I do? How can I go about that? But nourishing people and enhancing the lives of the people around you, not that difficult if you really think about it. How many times have you had somebody say something encouraging to you, and it just, that one thing that person said, it may have been a long time ago, just is kind of on a loop, playing over and over in your mind. And it just, it's just there, and it just, they may have said it years ago, but it's still there, and it still makes you feel good whenever you remember it. I remember back in 8th grade, I had a teacher that was Mrs. Brinkman. I still remember her name. And Mrs. Brinkman taught a media class. And in 8th grade, we got to have one or two electives, I can't remember. But I chose Mrs. Brinkman's class, the media class, because I thought it would be easy. Not because I was interested in media or anything like that. I just heard it was an easy class, so yeah, I'll just sign up for that one. So in this media class, what we would do is we would write and produce our own commercials, our own sportscasts, our own newscasts, our own whatever. We would just create these things and perform them and video them at the same time. Back when video cameras were first getting small enough and inexpensive enough that institutions and schools and things could start purchasing them. So we had a video camera. And so I remember one class, or after actually at the end of one class, where we had written, I think it was a commercial, and we had performed it, and everybody was getting ready to leave, and Mrs. Brinkman sat me down at the desk, and she looked at me and she said, "You are just really good at this." I'm like, well, okay. She said, no, I mean, you're really good at this. What do you want to be when you grow up? And I had no thought of doing anything media related, but those words that she spoke to me just have stuck with me my entire life. And I don't know if it's a coincidence now that a lot of what I do, or what I have done the last several years, has been related to media or public speaking or that type of thing. But I still remember Mrs. Brinkman talking to me, what has it been, almost 47 years ago, that she encouraged me in that class. So whenever we have the opportunity and you see someone that has a talent, a gift, whatever, if you just take a moment and nourish that person with your words and say, hey, you're really, really good at this, that's going to stick with them, and that's going to nourish them for the rest of their lives. You don't really even have to know somebody necessarily in order to nourish them as well. Most people walk around their entire lives, or the entire day, just looking for affirmation. People have this need for someone to come up and in so many words or actions say, hey, I see you. I notice you. You're significant. You're important. And that can be something as small as holding a door open at the Tom Thumb and letting someone walk in. It could be as small and insignificant as smiling at someone and looking them in the eye and just smiling. And when you do little things like that, it's just like placing a badge on that person's chest, saying, that says, I'm significant, I have value, because you've noticed them, you've seen them. Several years ago, I was interviewing a young lady for an office position in my business, and as we were talking and as I was interviewing, she said, you probably don't remember this or realize it, but my daughter and I actually met you about 6 months ago. And I'm like, oh, okay. I have to confess I don't remember meeting you. And she said, yeah, we were standing at the coffee bar at Tom Thumb, and you were fixing your coffee, and you looked down and smiled at my daughter. Like, wow. Something as small as that made such an impression on her that she actually remembered it 6 months later. And I still to this day don't even remember any encounter like that. But if I make it a habit as I go through my day to look at people, smile at them, acknowledge them, put that badge of importance, figuratively speaking, on their chest and say, hey, you're important. I've nourished them and I've enhanced their lives. So we can, we can talk to strangers. We can do this with strangers. We can nourish and encourage people that we know. But the most obvious opportunities we have to do this is what? Their own families, right? Because they're around us all the time, or at least most of the day. And it's kind of sad, and I'm guilty of this too, is that a lot of times those are the people that get neglected the most. Those are the people that you just take for granted and don't even think about nourishing them and enhancing their lives, but they're the ones that you have the most opportunity for. As I've got 5 kids. They're all grown and out of the house now. But as they were growing up and as they were going to school, my wife and we actually judged the effectiveness of our parenting by how well our children were able to nourish and enhance the lives of the kids that they associated with. Because we would look for stories of them coming home after school and saying, there was this new kid at school and they didn't know what to do, or they didn't know, they kind of sat by themselves, but I went over to them and I talked to them and I did this and I did that. Or some of my friends were having conflict and this is what I told them how they could resolve that conflict. Did I tell them the right thing? Like, yeah, you kind of hit the nail on the head there. You did well. And my 2 daughters, when they were teenagers, of course, like most teenage girls, they would babysit. And it wasn't actually uncommon for them to come home from a babysitting job and sit down with us and say, after Mrs. So-and-so got home, she started asking me questions about, things going on in her life and problems that she was having. And so I tried to talk to her a little bit about what she was asking me and different things. And, do you think I told her the right thing? And like most of the time it was, yeah, you were pretty right on in what you told her. So what we discovered was that as we were nurturing and pouring our lives into our kids, that was actually being taken out and touching people that we had no contact with at all. So what we were pouring into them, they were able to then again go and pour out to those around them. And so we always felt if they could be successful at doing that, then we were doing a good job, and we were happy with the way their lives were, with the way they were being raised. And then finally, obviously, the most important person that you want to encourage and nurture is your own spouse. And again, I'm guilty. It's so easy to just assume they're okay, or just assume, hey, you're busy. I'm busy. They understand I'm busy, and just take that person for granted. But it's so important as a spouse, as a wife, as a husband, to intentionally, and you really, I know I do, and I think it's true with most people, you really must be intentional with this. Because if you're not, it's too easy just to not think about it. To assume that, hey, I'm tired, they understand I'm tired, I don't need to pour anything else out. But one thing that I do, just a little simple thing, is that on my phone, I have a recurring reminder every week. And in that, on my phone, on that reminder, it comes up every Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, because I have an alert and then a pre-alert and a pre-alert so that I am reminded constantly. And the reminder is, all it says is, do something for Teresa. And, and what that does for me is it puts in the forefront of my mind, oh yeah, I need to be intentional about how I nurture her, nourish her, and enhance her life. And that could be anything as easy as simple as a hug, as simple as a good morning kiss before I leave in the morning for work, or just simple. It could be more. It could be going out to dinner. Maybe we haven't had a date in a while, time to take her to a movie or whatever. But it just, intentionally reminds me that, hey, I need to think about her, and I think I need to pour into her and nurture her and enhance her life, and thereby fulfill my purpose in life. So, all in all, we get so caught up in my purpose being what I do, what my vocation is, what my talents are, what my gifts are, and again, that can be part of it, and those are wonderful tools that you can use to release your purpose. But the thing about purpose is, although your purpose can change, it can ebb and flow. But don't ever allow your purpose to be set on something that can be taken away or that you can lose, because as we all know, things in life are never permanent. But if your purpose is something beyond what it is that you do, or what your talents are, or what your vocation is, you'll always have that purpose no matter what it is, no matter where you go, or no matter what you find yourself involved in. So, and in keeping with fulfilling my purpose, I wanted to offer you all something. I brought copies of a couple of my books. This one here is called Letters to Judah. And a little over a year, or not quite a year ago, my youngest son went into the Marines. And when he went into the Marine Corps, they encouraged all the families of the recruits to write them every day. So I'm thinking, man, my life just is not exciting enough to find content every day to write a letter, got out of bed, had breakfast, that's not going to be, something that's going to be really encouraging to him. So I had an idea. I thought, okay, what I'll do is I have a whole, treasure chest of quotes that I just love and that I've collected over the years and that I like to kind of live my life by. And so what I'll do is I will take those quotes, and every day I'll expound on them about what they mean to me, how I've been able to apply them in my life, and how just how to live a life. So that's what I did. And then I took those letters and compiled them and printed them into a book form. So I'd like to, if any of you want this, I'd just like to give it to you. No charge. I published it for that reason, so I could just share it with people and bless people with it. And then the other book I have, which is a little different. Some of you may or may not know, I recently started a nonprofit organization called Set Free Refuge. Our goal is to have a safe house open within the next about a year for survivors of human trafficking. Something that's been on my heart for several years, and just everything's kind of starting to come together to enable us to do that. But a few years ago, I wrote this book. It's called If I Could Talk to You About Human Trafficking, This Is What I Would Say. Human trafficking is not something that you can just it's not an easy conversation. It's a lot easier to put it down into written form and let you read about it rather than try to explain everything. So that's what I did with this book. So I have several copies of both of these. Don't feel obligated to take one. I won't be offended if you don't. But if you would like either or both copies, then please feel free to take one or both. So I hope I have nourished you tonight and enhanced your lives. I appreciate your attentiveness and being here, and it's been my pleasure. So thank you very much.